through the day, coupled with quite blustery winds, particularly towards the north at first. Here we'll see gales for a time. In between those rain bands there will be some sunshine, and that will help to lift temperatures into the low to mid-teens Celsius. Quite a mild afternoon to come. Temperatures up in the north up 12 Celsius, down towards the south there 14, even 15 degrees. 15 is 59 in Fahrenheit. Further bands of showery rain to come in from the west during the evening, and notice the wind starting to turn into a northerly direction from the north later in the day. That's a sign of things to come during the early part of next week. A colder spell developing, some sunshine, yes, but some frost, even a bit of snow towards the north, before things start to turn milder again from the west by the middle of the week.
We'll see a cold snap, which will quickly develop into a warm front. Boxed Boiler Repairs, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could be joining the Great British Giveaway list of winners with your chance to grab a fantastic £50,000 in tax-free cash. We've made loads of winners this year, and you could be our next.
Hi, I'm Angela from Wigan, and I won £30,000 with the Great British Giveaway. It happens to people like me.
For your chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5. I'm Darren Grimes, along with Alex Armstrong, Dr. Renee, Will Kingston and Nikki Hodgson. Tonight on the show...
Rice for blasphemy laws.
Hotel Britain must close its doors to migrants.
Your cash going to an IRA sympathising band whilst our SAS troops are persecuted.
Labour's litany of lies.
And it's time for the BBC victims to take the law into their own hands.
It's 6 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Welcome to the Saturday Five. Now, after I give this intro, you'll probably think you've tuned in to Alan Carr, but bear with me. Good evening, my friends, my fellow defiers of gravity and seekers of common sense. Welcome to the Saturday Five, where we cut through the woke fog thicker than the mist over Emerald City and serve up the truth with the sharpness of Elphaba's wit and Glinda's wand. Now, I have just come back from watching Wicked with my family. You might have guessed that. Absolutely spellbinding. It had absolutely everything, right? Soaring songs, it had dazzling visuals and enough heart to make even the Tin Man shed a tear. But let me tell you, the awkward woke press rounds nearly put me off seeing the damn thing. Apparently, the Green Witch is now a metaphor for modern identity politics. Yes, because nothing says relatable quite like being green. Honestly, it's like the woke glitterati are determined to convince you at home not to see the film.
I'm a person, and I feel, and I have feelings, and I can share them.
And if you need to cry right now, you cry.
Yeah.
If you need to cry right now, you cry. It's as fake and plastic as the wizard himself. But fear not. Tonight, we're summoning the magic to tackle a lineup spicier than an argument between Glinda and Elphaba. Will Kingston is our very own Wizard of Oz, Australia, bringing a no-nonsense take sharper than the Wicked Witch's broomstick. Dr. Renee, I'm loath to call her a witch because she might hit me, is our Glinda of reason. She's floating in on her bubble of common sense to burst woke delusions. Alex Armstrong is the lion with no need for courage. He's got it in spades and isn't afraid to roll about what matters. And Nikki Hodgson, well, let's just say she's the Elphaba of woke, casting spells of progressive charm and hoping we all sing along. Spoiler alert, Nikki, we probably won't. So grab your broomsticks, hold on to your pointy hats and join us as we fly through the week's wildest headlines. It's the Saturday Five, where the banter's bewitching, the commentary's cutting and the nonsense melts away like a witch under a bucket of water. Let's get wicked. You know the drill by now. Each host outlines an argument about a chosen topic, then we all pile in and the first starts to fly. And of course, we want your views as well. Send them and post your comments by visiting gbnews.com/your say. Don't forget Ask the Five as well. No topics are off limits. But before we start tearing each other apart, it's your Saturday Night News with Joe Casper.
Good evening, it's 3 minutes past 6. I'm Joe Casper. Here are your top stories from the GB Newsroom. MasterChef producer Banijay has announced City law firm Lewis Silkin will investigate alleged misconduct by TV presenter Gregg Wallace during the filming of the cooking show. It comes after further accusations were made against him in the wake of him stepping away from the BBC programme. Penny Lancaster is said to be prepared to speak with authorities regarding her experience with Mr Wallace on Celebrity MasterChef following his recent departure. The Sun reports 3 different women are now also accusing Mr Wallace of groping. Banijay UK urged anyone with further concerns to get in touch and said all information will be handled sensitively. Mr Wallace's lawyers insist the claims are entirely false, adding the suggestion that Wallace, who has presented the popular BBC One programme alongside John Turode since 2005, engages in behaviour of a sexually harassing nature, was entirely false. A murder investigation has been launched after the death of a woman in her 60s in South London. Officers were called to an address in Surrey Quays at about 3 p.m. on Friday after reports that a woman had been stabbed, the Metropolitan Police said. The London Ambulance Service and London's Air Ambulance also attended, and the woman was taken to hospital where she later died. A 61-year-old man was arrested on suspicion of murder and remains in custody. A memorial service has been held today for former First Minister of Scotland, Alex Salmond. His wife of more than 40 years and supporters arranged a remembrance service for him on St Andrew's Day. Mr Salmond died last month in North Macedonia at the age of 69. He was at a conference when he suffered a heart attack and was buried in a private family ceremony near his home in Aberdeenshire at the end of October. Football action now, and there were wins for Brentford, Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth in the Premier League today. Meanwhile, Crystal Palace scored a last-minute equaliser to draw 1-1 at home to Newcastle. West Ham versus Arsenal is the evening kick-off. Now to a story that will sweeten your day. A man has been awarded £2 in compensation after he complained about a smooth Mars bar. Harry Seeger from Buckinghamshire picked up the chocolate treat at a service station in Oxfordshire, but contacted manufacturer's Mars Wrigley when he discovered it didn't have its signature ripple. In a letter, the firm apologised for his experience and enclosed a £2 voucher, but offered no explanation. Mr. Seeger said, "I think £2 is great. It will be 2 free Mars bars. Maybe they could have sent me more, but I'm not ungrateful." Story of the day. That's brilliant. Those are your latest GB News headlines. I'm Joe Casper. More in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
It's Saturday night and you're with the Saturday 5. I'm Darren Grimes and I can promise that you're in for a very lively show. I've just got to read out this comment from Stephen. Stephen says, "Willie was on with Ben Leo last night. I'm glad he's back on the Saturday 5. I love Willie." Well, Stephen, your preferences are your own.
We all love Willie.
And,
oh, God.
Yes. Patricia comments, "I love Willie. You can count on the Aussies not holding back." Enough about Will's love life.
Sorry, is that serious?
Yeah. I'm serious. Thank you for the comments. Keep them coming in. We'll crack on now with tonight's first debate, and it isn't Willie. It is Alex. Alex, what have you got for us?
Well, it's been a big week again for Keir Starmer, hasn't it? His fragile government has been rocked by another scandal. This week, Louise Haigh, the Transport, or should I say ex-Transport Secretary, has been forced out by Downing Street because of her prior fraud convictions. Now, she's claimed that she's told Keir Starmer all about these prior convictions. The conviction itself is that she had a phone stolen during a mugging, and that then she found the phone and failed to declare it, hence the former conviction. She's told Starmer about this conviction before, but Starmer's team are now saying that she didn't. So who's the Labour liar? Now, of course, Labour are now suffering from the same low bar that they set for resignations with Tory ministers. Louise Haigh is a prime example of this. She sent multiple tweets out saying that Boris Johnson and others should resign, simply, in some cases, because she didn't like them. But let's get back to the topic at hand here. If dishonesty gets you sacked, why is Rachel Reeves still the Chancellor? Allegedly, the Chancellor has lied on her CV and changed it multiple times. She can't answer a question. She did an interview the other day with ITV. She just can't answer the question. So my question to this panel is this whole government utterly incompetent, or is it compulsive lying?
Well, Nikki has come today to show us her collection of mobile phones.
Gathered from many lifetimes, yes.
Cases of insurance claims. But, Nikki, on a serious note, I mean, do you have any sympathy with Alex's argument?
A little bit. I mean, she's not on the scale of Boris Johnson, let's be clear. It's not that kind of Tory lying. We're not talking about proroguing Parliament and lying to the Queen. But, I mean, is it a spent conviction?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, that kind of, to me, that's the sticking point. If it was an unspent conviction, that's different.
But do you think that Starmer, has he lost his judgment?
Well,
I mean, he's got two cabinet ministers, one of which has allegedly lied on her CV and misled the electorate, and the other one has a fraud conviction that he's now saying, and his team is saying, they had no idea about. So my question was, is he incompetent, or is he just lying?
Well, he'll say, as a legal man, that actually a spent conviction doesn't need to be talked about anymore.
Yeah, well,
and we all believe that under the law.
Then why has she been sacked? Why has she been sacked?
Because it's inappropriate, and it's about, we have set moral standards for politicians, and if they fall short, then they should be sacked. So it's appropriate to sack her.
But why is she there in the first place then?
Well, I don't. I mean, there just aren't enough good candidates. She isn't anyway. But Rachel Reeves, I do have sympathy with because she plagiarised half a book, and that's just not.
Well, she did.
I say as a writer.
My question is this, right? Nikki is right to say that her conviction is spent and no longer actually appears on a record, right? But the question I would have for you, Nikki, is when the Reform MP, James Murdoch, was dragged through the press and within Parliament itself, people calling for his suspension from Parliament because of a past conviction about 20-odd years ago or something like that, involving an assault. Now, there was no forgiveness there. Why should there be forgiveness for this case here and now?
Well, it's because it's to do with the victim of the crime, right? So apparently if you're frauding an insurance company, there's no person at stake. I mean, there always is someone at stake. We know that's how it works. Somebody would probably have got sacked for putting that claim through when it was revealed that it was false. But with something like an assault, you worry that's a behavioural condition of a person.
Right, but you know what I think?
The
problem is, you're right. I agree with everything you've said, apart from the fact that Keir Starmer has staked his government on being the sleaze-free party, the change. And he has also said and stood up and said, you can't be the lawmakers and the lawbreakers. So, unfortunately, he's been hoisted by his own petard. Yeah. Because these are his rules. And now he's falling short.
And he's been tripped up by his legal precedent as well, because he's just thinking with a legal head. And what he needs to think is with a moral head and how things are perceived. But I still stand by the fact that this is such a minor crime, considering when you compare it with what Boris Johnson did.
I really want someone to answer, do they think it's incompetence?
I think it's
or
both.
is it lying?
Yeah. I think it's both.
Lying and incompetence?
It's not a mutually exclusive situation. I don't think we're quite hitting it. The key issue here is, did he know? And if he did know, he has to resign. Now, let me do my best Keir Starmer and admit some items into evidence. Admittedly, I'm not sure I can possibly be that uncharismatic, but let me try. Number one, the way that they're framing this is they're saying, well, more details have come to light, which implies that they knew that something was there from the outset. Number two, the way that these senior cabinet ministers are vetted is serious. They would have been able to pick this sort of thing up. And three, Westminster talks. We all know Westminster talks. There is no way he didn't know this. And if he did know it and kept it here in the cabinet anyway, he has to resign.
But Will, let's just go back to Boris Johnson. You know, somebody who serially lied in very serious circumstances. Would you have asked him to resign?
No, because he didn't say that lawmakers can't be lawbreakers.
Oh my goodness! So that's the issue. Not the fact that he's an absolute blatant liar and criminal.
But look, you can't grandstand publicly on Twitter and on TV interviews and then expect the bar to be set differently.
It's a spent conviction.
I really have to come back to that statement on saying that what did you say? Boris Johnson is a...
I said he's a liar.
And he's broken the law.
He's criminal. Well, he broke his own COVID laws.
He had a piece of cake in number 2.
No, that still broke the laws that we weren't allowed to break.
So what about...
His law breaking was investigated by the police.
Did Starmer not break those rules then when he had a impromptu party where they ordered food in for 19 people?
Oh, what, we saw in office having a beer in the window?
Oh,
it's not the same.
Why is it not the same?
Because it's this serialness of Boris Johnson's lying that's the issue. He has reduced our democracy. He's reduced the standard of the politicians we expect. And so Louise Hay is nothing by comparison.
She herself tweeted about Boris Johnson being a fraudster, right? And said things to that effect.
Yeah. Continue lying to the whole country and to the police. It is different lying to a whole nation when you're in office as opposed to lying to someone years ago on an insurance claim. I'm sorry, but it's not comparative.
Well, I certainly think it is. But on that wider point, Will, of forgiveness, do you think you can ever forgive people and have them come into public life? As in, they spend their conviction, it's off their record. Can we ever be a society that allows people to hold high office after being done for something?
Yes, but they have to be upfront about it. And this is part of a wider trend amongst this Labor government that they are not upfront about.
I agree with that.
No, and yes, but not when you're the one who has stood up and said very clearly that you are going to eradicate all of this law breaking because you can't be a lawmaker if you're a lawbreaker. Then you can't.
Yeah, exactly. They don't have a leg to stand on effectively. But I mean, Alex, on Nikki's points there about comparing the two political parties, some people might say, well, plague on both their houses.
Yeah, well, I absolutely have. I believe there's a plague on both their houses, and I think most of the electorate are completely fed up with both parties, frankly. I'm fed up with the Tories. I mean, I didn't vote for the Conservatives despite being a party member up until recently, because I'm sick to death of it all. And look, I do think we've set the standards too high for politicians. They are human beings, but we do expect them to be better than us. And at this point in time, when we're looking at what's going on in the Labour government over not just, Haig's resignation, but Reeves's case with their CV, and then before that, the Lord Alley scandal, I think people are just going, what's changed? We got promised we're going to have change in this Labour government, and we've had nothing but more of the same.
Neil has said, who's a member, thank you, Neil, he says Boris got a fixed penalty notice. He did not defraud his employer and make a false statement to the police, as Hay did. I mean... No,
but he just lied to the Queen and the whole country about his behaviour. I'm sorry, but he was Prime Minister. It is not comparable. He prorogued Parliament, and then that was obviously proven. The system in which he did it was falsified.
And then he stood, and it was Jacob Rees-Mogg at the time who went to the Queen and had the conversation.
Yes.
But The problem there was they then faced an election and they could be held to be responsible for their actions.
Sure.
And also, so if the electorate said, I don't want to have a government that does this sort of thing, they could have kicked them out.
But those things shouldn't be separate. It shouldn't be that somebody breaks the law and then we unelect them to get rid of them.
About Louise, though. This is the problem. This is the fact.
Well, but apparently you're saying that Keir Starmer did.
But also, Boris ultimately cost him his job in the end. He did lose his job.
But not for that reason. Well, he lost his job because he lost his popularity.
I mean, Ian says that, Ian in Suffolk says, Darren, Louise should stand down as a Member of Parliament. Who thinks that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that.
Oh, a by-election, Nikki. That would be fun.
Should me and you stand for it? Can you imagine?
The worrying thing is it might be Nikki on the ballot. Right. Coming up next, Renee's going to address the shocking record migration numbers this month and who's really to blame. You're with the Saturday 5. We're live on GB News.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Australian chef David Thompson is opening a new restaurant, Long Chim. The name, which translates roughly as come and try, already has locations in Sydney, Perth and Dubai, and previously operated in Melbourne and Singapore. It marks a return to London for Thompson, whose Belgravia haunt Naarm closed in 2012. But that earned him accolades, including, in 2002, the first Michelin star awarded to a Thai restaurant. So you've mentioned Bangkok there. What is your love for Thai food? Describe to us why you think Thai food is such a great cuisine.
It's endlessly complex and satisfying. It just resonates on the palate. For me, as a cook, it offers a challenge. And the way that you cook it is you chase taste. You don't follow a recipe, you follow your sense of taste. And so with all these dishes that you'll taste today, but also in the restaurant that we're opening, it's all about a sequence of taste and seasoning that has some balance.
What is this dish?
This is something called Gengari Gung, which is an aromatic curry of prawns.
Lovely looking prawns, yes.
They're not too bad. And it's with something strange called water bamboo, which we found up in Chinatown just the other day. And it's a perfect accompaniment. I'll just take a little.
Yes. Describe that perfect accompaniment to me again. Water
bamboo.
What is it? Water bamboo, yeah.
And you would not know of it, because I didn't know of it that much either. And it tastes like a little bit of like young coconut meat. So it's perfect with these prawns and this curry. And what you need to have with this curry, because this is the way that Thai food works, an interplay of flavours. This little cucumber salad on the side, and that helps to bring out the spice and the sweetness and the savoury quality.
I must say, all of this looks so lovely.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment. This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory. Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark meets at My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. As always, thank you very much for all of your messages about tonight's show, starting off with a bang. Edward says, Darren Starmer watched 12 and 13-year-old children being arrested. I reckon that in itself should be a resigning matter. And John says, Darren, please ask Jaws to turn down the volume. That could be anyone on the panel. Who's Jaws?
Probably me. I was
the shark. No. And the other comments, lots of comments actually coming in saying that actually they do view this as a resigning matter. Another request to turn down Nikki's microphone. I'll be doing no such thing. I'll be doing no such...
It's the Northern Gobstopper back
No, yes, that's exactly it. Right, thank you for those. Keep them coming in, and remember, Ask the Five as well. Get your messages in for that. Right, who's up next?
Me.
Uh-oh, you said that was some determination.
So this week we saw both Keir and Kemi hasten to give out a press conference about the abysmal migration figures that were released once again. The only reason that they looked decent was because they suddenly found another 150,000 people last year that they didn't know about. Then that made this year look not too bad, or at least slightly improved. So let's take both speeches with a pinch of salt and look at Kemi's to start with.
We need to talk about immigration. We need a new approach. The system is broken. We can't go on like this. We got it wrong, and we are going to learn. The Conservatives are going to develop a detailed plan for immigration to put before you at the next election, not the policies of Labour, which are going to fail.
Yeah, well, you know, it was pretty boring, but she did say a couple of things that were interesting. She said that it was time to tell the truth on immigration. Yes, it is time to tell the truth. And if this actually happens, it'll end. Because if they actually tell us who is committing crime in our country, who is at the top of our NHS waiting list, who's taking our school places so that we can't get our kids into the local school, people will not stand for it anymore. So please do tell the truth. She also said that our country is not a dormitory. It's not a hotel. It's a home. And I agree. And I don't invite strangers into my home and let them use my fridge or my heating or sleep in my bed. So she's right from that perspective. But, you know, don't want to state the obvious. They had 14 years to fix it. They broke it. But now Labour have taken over. And guess what? Since they took power, they have opened more asylum hotels than they've actually closed. And yet they said they were going to smash the gangs. They're now spending £4.2 million a day, £5 billion a year on migrant accommodation. That's your money and my money that they're choosing to spend that way, instead of spending it stopping pensioners freeze to death in their homes, stopping our veterans, 20,000 of them sleeping on our streets, and sending £11 billion to Africa for climate change and letting small businesses go out of business to raise that money. These are choices that our politicians are making with our money. Both of their press conferences were an exercise in damage limitation, nothing else. They're hoping that you will believe what they say to you rather than what you can see with your eyes. It's classic gaslighting. And according to Keir, they're going to fix the foundation, secure the borders and make Britain great again. They're not. It's a lie. Well, Keir, we're going to hold you to it, though, and we're going to watch you. I would say to you, the only way you're going to fix those foundations is to close the doors of Hotel Britain today and do not reopen them in this Parliament. Nikki, I bet you agree.
Absolutely not. Well, look, Keir Starmer has taken the issue head on this week, and he was unwavering in his commitment to stopping and cutting immigration, both illegal and legal.
But he wouldn't put a cap on it.
He was very clear about that. What's that, sorry?
He wouldn't put a cap on it. He wouldn't put a number.
Well, he wouldn't put a cap on it, and he's wise not to, because we've still got loads of other issues going on. 30,000 vacancies in the NHS, and we still need to take on some skilled workers that may come from migrant visas.
Almost 1 million people came to the country, and you're telling me that we've got 30,000 vacancies.
I'm saying nursing vacancies.
But that math doesn't make sense to me.
Nursing vacancies. We've actually got more staff vacancies. We've got about 100k. The reason I'm saying this is because there are certain instances where we will still need skilled migrants to come into this country. We still need foreign students to come into proper our universities because we haven't found a solution to that problem.
Well, you know what the solution is to that?
Close them down.
Close them down. Contract the industry and just have British students in British universities.
And then contract all the universities.
The problem is, this is the argument that nobody has about immigration, is the more people you bring here, the more people you've got to have then support those people that you've brought here. So it's a self-perpetuating problem.
But that's already been shut down.
What's done in Hungary is that they've got a programme where they're trying to foster people having children. So if you're under the age of 28 and you've got a student loan and you've had 3 kids, they'll wipe your student loan off. We are investing in illegal migrants. They're investing in families. That's the difference.
But we've already said that we're going to cap that ability to bring in dependents. We've already talked about that. It's very clear under the law.
Well, the Tories did that.
Yes, but that's still the law as far as I understand it. That hasn't been changed.
38k though to be a taxpayer in this country, Nikki.
Yeah, right? But you don't tax paying is not the only contribution you make to society. There are lots of other ways you can contribute to society in Britain. By caring for people, by being a good citizen, by volunteering. You don't have to actually pay tax.
The thing is, Nikki, coming over from Sudan and the like, or volunteering in the community.
Well, I don't know, Darren.
I've heard it all now. I really have. You are in cloud cuckoo
You've
land.
got to give people a chance to make a
problem
difference. And I say this, as you all will have heard me say it a million times, married to immigrants that came from Bangladesh and Burma under threat of war and all the rest of it, and they made incredible lives for themselves and massively contributed. And it took time. You can't expect someone that comes over here in a year to turn their lives around. But with support, they can.
The problem is that GDP per capita is going down, and it's not just a result of legal migration, because there's good cases for legal migration. It's illegal migrants that people are getting really upset about, because they are actually screwing the system, so to speak.
No, I'm about both.
Well, yeah, of course, legal migration is too high. Absolutely.
But they are separate issues, and we need to separate them out.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm trying to say. Let's separate. The illegal migrant problem is a totally different issue, because we're having to pay billions of pounds for those people to look after them. It's coming out of your taxpayer money. It's coming out of your bill. Legal migrants can come here and start working and contributing to the economy. They cannot. And that is why people are so wound up.
Nikki, why is it the job of the UK to help foreign migrants turn their lives around?
Why is it the job of any human to help any other human?
No, the job
it's a question of humanity, Will.
So
it's about empathy. Because if you were having to flee here because of war and you had to land in wherever it was, you would want people to be kind
and empathetic. But they don't have to flee here because of war. They go through multiple safe countries. They don't need to flee here because of war.
But maybe they speak English. We've said this before.
So
surely, Nikki,
following
on from what you say about compassion, surely that compassion should start at home.
Of course it could be. But Renee, we've got ways. We could put people to work much quicker than we do. We could process them much quicker.
I don't want those people working.
No.
I want the people that live here working.
We've got a problem with worklessness in this country because people do not want to work.
Why?
Do we not need some migrants to do jobs that those people don't want to do?
They don't want to work because we pay them so poorly, because we know we can pay migrants poorly.
No, that's not the only reason. That is not the only reason. It is an inability to want to work because it's too easy to take benefits.
All right, Will, did you want to come back?
I walked past from Paddington Station to the studio today, I think 5 or 6 people who were sleeping rough in the middle of winter. This has to start with helping people at home.
Yeah.
And we can't do that with the strain of 900,000 odd migrants coming over the border.
All right, thank you very much to the panel there. Donna has written in, and Donna says, the Saturday 5, you all make my Saturday. And Darren, I tell you, if I wasn't a straight heterosexual woman, I so would. I love you all. Renee is a goddess. And then we've had the same comment we've heard before from Donna, actually saying, and I forgot the gorgeous Errol Flynn lookalike. Who could that be, I wonder? Have we got that to...
No.
He loves
Thank God.
He loves it.
All right. And still to come tonight, Will gives his take on a Labour MP calling for blasphemy laws. And are we headed for an Orwellian night now? I think
we're already there.
I think we're already there.
We're already there.
Well, with the Saturday 5, we're live on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. During the course of Sunday, we'll see some showery outbreaks of rain across the UK. Things turning colder from the north into Monday, albeit for a time because milder Atlantic air will return during the middle part of the coming week. Back to detail for the present time though, and low pressure's anchored towards the northwest of the UK. Quite tightly packed isobars, so it's quite a blustery picture. And a band of rain starting to work in from the west across Ireland and Northern Ireland through the course of the evening, reaching Scotland, England and Wales during the overnight period. Some of the rain could well turn quite heavy at times, staying mostly fine towards the southeast, and some clearer weather tucking into the northwest of the UK by the morning on Sunday. Quite blustery though up towards the north, gales are likely, and wherever you are it's mild and frost-free, temperatures holding up in double figures in some places. As for Sunday itself, we'll get off to a very showery picture across Scotland. A few clear spells at times, but on the whole, there will be a fair number of showers moving in from the west. Quite mild at this stage in the day though, temperatures here in double figures. A pretty bright picture across Northern Ireland to start the day on Sunday, just 1 or 2 showers around, and fairly bright too across parts of Wales and the southwest, again with just 1 or 2 showers moving in from the west. Cloudier skies though across central and southeastern parts of England, here some more general outbreaks of rain at times. As for the rest of Sunday, well, on the whole it's a pretty unsettled day. Bands of showery rain moving in from the west, interspersed by some bright or sunny spells at times, and those blustery winds, particularly towards the north, gradually easing down as we go through the day. And another very mild day for the time of year. Temperatures peaking at 14, possibly 15 degrees down towards the south. 15 is 59 in Fahrenheit. But as I say, tempered a little bit by the showery outbreaks of rain and that brisk breeze. As for Monday, we'll notice colder air starting to push in from the north, certainly across Scotland, Northern Ireland and the north of England. Towards the south we hold on to milder temperatures, but here there'll be some outbreaks of rain at times, locally on the heavy side as we go through the day. Colder weather moving south across all parts to give some frost on Tuesday, even some snow for a time across the north of the UK, but turning milder by the middle of the week.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. As always, thank you very much for your emails. I think some of you have gotten quite confused and assumed that this is blind date. I am not Cilla Black. I'm from the northeast, not the northwest. And I tell you, James says, Darren, you are all gorgeous on the panel, but I think Alex is the hottest presenter on television.
It's very hot in the studio, I'm telling you that for sure. It's boiling in here.
Will he be free for lunch?
What day?
I don't know. And Dan says, migration is a block call, more needs and more wants. Migrants get old and sick too, remember, plus then bring over the family. So we seem to be saying, bring them over to look after Granny, but then who's going to look after them in turn? Will the sufficient Northern Ireland national insurance and tax increases cover their care when needed? No, it'll be down to you. Well said, Dan. Well said, Dan. Now, it's time for our next debate. Which reprobate is going next?
I'm up, Darren.
Oh, well.
As you well know, sorry to break the fourth wall. In 2009, Christopher Hitchens said of Islam, resist it whilst you still can, and before the right to complain is taken away from you, which will be the next thing. You will be told you can't complain because you're Islamophobic. That day has sadly arrived this week in Parliament, in the greatest parliament that Western liberal democracy has ever seen. Tahir Ali, a Labor MP, effectively called for blasphemy laws in the United Kingdom. We have that clip ready to go. Let's see it.
Last year, the United Nations Human Rights Council adopted a resolution condemning the desecration of religious texts, including the Quran. Will the Prime Minister commit to introducing measures to prohibit the desecration of all religious texts and the prophets of the Abrahamic religions?
We are, as I said before, Mr. Speaker, committed to tackling all forms of hatred and division, including, of course, Islamophobia in all of its forms.
He's so weak. Here's what Keir Starmer should have said to that suggestion, which should be an affront to anyone who cares about freedom. We live in a Western liberal democracy, the greatest Western liberal democracy that the world has seen. In a Western liberal democracy, you are free to criticise, you're free to challenge, you're free to question any religion or ideology. And make no mistake, it is an uncomfortable truth that Islam does have questions that it needs to answer, even if it is on the fringes of Islamic culture, whether it be about the treatment of women in fundamentalist Islamic communities, or indeed the treatment of minority groups more generally, or the disdain that the ideology has for the separation between church and state. This country has done more than any other to promote the ideology of free speech and individual liberty, and I will be damned if we sacrifice that at the altar of religious extremism. Unfortunately, the leader of this country did not do that.
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely pathetic and a shameful response, actually, that he basically said, you know, we'll look into it. It's Islamophobia Awareness Month or whatever else. And actually, I don't know how you can be phobic against Islam. Everything you've just said, Will, would be deemed Islamophobic under the legislation forthcoming as it is under the Labour government. So anything that we've ever said about this issue, and I've had threats on the streets in London for talking about these issues, they will be given legal teeth to actually come after people.
But it's worse than that, isn't it? Because we actually have de facto blasphemy laws in this country, but only against
Well, they're not de facto,
Islam.
they are blasphemy
They're happening.
laws.
We've got a teacher who is still in hiding, who has not been supported by this government or his Labour MP, the Batley case. We had a mother whose autistic son scuffed a Quran in the playground and was paraded by the police in front of the local imams wearing a headscarf to apologise, pleading for her son's life. When it comes to Islam and the Quran, we already have those laws because everybody's too terrified of them to do anything. Say what you want about the Christian religion, and that's fine.
And that's not even to mention non-crime hate incidents, which have had police knocking people's doors for tweets and Facebook posts. I mean, you're absolutely spot on, Will. We have got a problem in this country, and it's already here, let alone it being enshrined in its own legislation. It's a worrying development that our Parliament, as you said, a great Western liberal democracy, has moved so far away from that in a short space of time. We have a right to freedom of speech. It's a God-given right, and inherently these laws are anti-religious. If you believe that God gave every human the right to speak and say it's mine, then its criticism of religion is part of that.
Nikki, I mean, I have a non-crime hate incident against my name. Do you think that's right?
Well, I think I've got several. I don't pay any attention to them.
You might get some tonight.
I'll definitely be getting some tonight after this show. The thing that I would say, it's very important to distinguish between Islam and Islamism, and I know we say it all the time, but there is a clear-cut difference, and there are lots of British Muslims in this country that, you know, live peacefully, are not hateful, are not misogynistic, not any more than anybody else is in Britain anyway, because misogyny is a global problem and it's nothing to do with religion.
Sure, but they still call the imam when someone scuffs their Quran.
Some people do, Renee, not all British Muslims.
I take your point about the distinction, but we should be allowed to criticise both.
I also agree with that.
Should we be able to burn a Quran?
Absolutely you should. Just like you should be able to burn a Bible or
But you
War and
can't,
Peace.
there's all sorts of things you can't burn under law, like flags.
You can burn flags.
Well,
You can't burn some flags.
Well, you can burn our flags.
You can burn our flags.
In this country.
But if you're Lawrence Fox, you can't.
Yeah, look,
you can't
listen,
set fire to a
I think you should be able to say whatever you want about any religion. I wouldn't, because actually I'd be respectful, and I'd hope that most people would. Because what's the point? It's not moral, but if I want to, I should be able to.
But we also create a very clear distinction between free speech and hate speech.
Right, brief.
The key distinction Renee's just made is the distinction between something which is morally wrong and illegal, and unfortunately we forgot about that distinction in society.
Well, and incites violence as a result. That's the key element of hate speech.
There's no evidence in 60 years that
In
you
hate
say
speech,
something.
no.
There's no evidence that you actually
Language
incite someone
is
to
There was none
performative.
after the riots that took place. I don't think there was evidence that tweets got people on the streets. I just don't buy it.
No, I'm not talking about tweets, but I'm talking about people preaching. You know, there's loads of instances of people preaching hate and inciting people to go on and commit
The bar
crimes.
for incitement to
That's
violence
real.
the bar to incitement to violence is high, and it needs to be high.
It is high.
And we just let out the guy who actually was the one that indoctrinated the fella who did the Manchester Arena bombing.
And the probation board thought he was dangerous 2 months ago, but now they can do nothing.
We've gone mad. Right, OK, thank you very much, Dr Renee. I love it when that rhymes. Now, John has written in, and John says, Darren, I'm going deaf in both ears, but I'm having no problems hearing you lot tonight. Well, we'll keep it up, John. Still to come, I'll delve into the decision to award a Britain-hating Irish Republican rap group £14,000 of your money. But next, Nikki addresses how the BBC repeatedly fails to protect its staff, and why has this been able to go on for so long? You're with the Saturday 5, we're live on GB News.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
The birth rate in Britain has sunk to 1.49, well below replacement rate. Yet policies pursued by both major parties are still to spend huge sums to encourage parents back to their work when their children are still at preschool age. Should we not be helping parents to spend longer at home, asks his new book, whilst recognising that in an age of sex equality, the question is fraught. David Goodhart joins me now.
We undervalue the domestic realm, and that has led to lots of the most negative trends in British society. About half of children in the UK are not living with both of their biological parents by the age of 14. We have, of families with dependent children, about 24-25% are single-parent households. Mainly mothers, and they're doing, valiant work. But of course, it means you don't have the investment in children that a two-parent family can give. I mean, the reason why it's a care dilemma is that a lot of these negative trends are also kind of intimately related to positive things, like that movement of women into work, the fact that women are no longer so defined by marriage and motherhood, the fact that women and men are freer to leave unhappy relationships. And the challenge for modern liberal societies is, how we hold on to those freedoms but get a better balance, which means, I think, investing more in the domestic realm. We spend a total now of £9 billion on childcare subsidies. Why not give that subsidy direct to young parents so they could then choose whether to subsidise themselves, as it were, to be able to afford to stay at home, or to give it to a nursery, or to give it to granny, or to keep it in the home.
GB News.
Nightmare commute. Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+ and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. As always, thank you very much for your messages about tonight's topics. Amen says, two people standing in the street. The Christian burns the Quran and the Muslim burns the Bible. Guess which one's going to jail? That's one view. And a lot of you making that same point, to be honest. And the issues here around, we need to wake up to the fact that blasphemy is already here, right? Despite the legislation not being evident, it's already here. And James says, if you want Islamic law, maybe stay where you are or move back somewhere else. There are plenty of Arab nations, for example. Lots of food for thought there. Right, now it's time for our next debate. Oh, here we go. I've got a feeling I know who's up next.
Turn the volume down, because it's Nikki coming at you. So, another week, another BBC drama. I'm not talking about Line of Duty. I'm talking about something I can't talk about. Another presenter accused of allegedly misbehaving, sexual misconduct on set of programmes. So the BBC has got its sausages in a sizzle because it's yet another incident of someone not doing the thing they're meant to do, which is just not have such a lust for power every time they're heading up a show. This is a broader problem in the TV industry at large. Katie Wassell, you might remember the X Factor contestant, is currently running a campaign on GoFundMe to start up a kind of body of people that can fight back as people that work in the industry against those that corrupt and take advantage of people that are junior. So is it time really for the BBC to step up, or is it time for people that appear on TV to take the law into their own hands?
Well, can I kick this off? Because I actually 100% agree with you, Nikki. And I think the BBC has failed time and time and time again. It's failed women, it's failed the public multiple times to disclose accurate information. But in this case, he has also said some things that people are deeming racist, and I question whether it's racism that he's being, engaged in, because there are just parts and moments where there's banter being had. I'm not talking about the sexual misconduct, the alleged sexual misconduct. I'm talking about other things, because now he's getting a torrent of things being thrown at him. So I do think we need to separate these issues out and have a sensible conversation about whether or not this is things are banter, things are just making light-hearted jokes. One of them, he made supposedly a racist comment at an Asian person, although the claim was that he said something which I won't repeat on TV here. I don't think it was racist. I think it was banter, and if it was an English person's accent, people would take the mick out of that. So, but on the other allegations, the BBC's failed. We've seen it time and time again.
But I think this is the crux of this, isn't it? I think you're absolutely right in everything you've said there. I agree with you. But also, I do worry about men that have their careers destroyed before anything is proven, and I'm not saying that this person is innocent or not, but why don't the BBC do their job, watch behaviour, have inquiries behind the scenes so you don't have to destroy someone publicly before we know the truth?
I mean, I find the whole Strictly Come Dancing saga a bit depressing. Like, you've got to have a chaperone with you at all times.
And everything's got to be videoed, but then they've got to bother to watch the video back, because they already had that policy in place, remember, before there were all those complaints
made. I find it also dehumanising, and it just sort of sucks anyone's agency away. You're going to get bad apples in all walks of life. I think, actually, you're right, though, that when a complaint like that is made, they should look into it straight away.
Well, of course, they've got this workplace culture review coming up, haven't they? That they launched in October.
But they must have known about this for a long, long time. There must have been whispers. We work.
Is it not just a few bantery comments?
Well, it might be, but the point is that someone's going to have their career destroyed before we know.
Yeah. But the other slight problem here, the complexity, is that this person was hired through a production company and not straightforwardly through the BBC. So technically, there's a legal firm now investigating it, and that makes it a little bit more difficult to say it's the BBC solely at fault.
Will, you're a man that likes an innuendo with the fairer sex. What say you?
Well, I certainly wouldn't do it in the workplace, and that's why this guy, even, he should be done for stupidity as well as for a lack of morals. The difference between, say, this happening at Fox News, for example, is that it is our taxpayer money that is funding what is obviously a rotten culture.
It's going up.
There is no reason to have a taxpayer-funded broadcaster in 2024. I actually don't know why this conversation doesn't lead to why is the BBC still being funded.
Let's ask that question. Who on the panel is going to pay their extra £5 to pay for the BBC licence?
Will I be locked up if I say I won't? That's a quick...
It still has a value. It still has a value.
No, I'm going to stop it.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop it. I've decided. I don't watch, anything live. I can listen to radio instead. It's fine.
Can I just say, Robbie Williams, just very briefly, Robbie Williams said we should be forgiven for things we said and did in the 90s because at the time they were acceptable. And I do think there has to be some conversation. I'm not saying sexual misconduct, but I'm saying at least things that you've said, we've got to decide what's acceptable today is acceptable today.
Right, all right, I'm going to go next. I've had enough of that woke nonsense. Right. Kneecap, a balaclava-clad band allegedly glorifying drugs and the Irish Republican Army has pocketed £14,000 of your money by using the Equality Act. Meanwhile, British soldiers who risked their lives for this country are dragged through endless legal hell. The men who actually defended us during, it could be the Troubles, in Iraq, Afghanistan, they're seen to be hounded decades later under the European Convention on Human Rights. And while those who mock their sacrifice appear to actually get state handouts, there was an SAS soldier reportedly stuck in a 20-year legal limbo for his role in eliminating armed IRA operatives allegedly plotting mass murder. Now, instead of commendations for that he's actually been a really quite valuable asset to the British state, he's faced endless inquests thanks to the ECHR laws that retroactively question decisions made in split seconds under fire. Could you do it? I certainly couldn't. Is this justice? I don't think so. Meanwhile, this kneecap band, who've got them on screen now for our radio listeners, in their balaclavas, they're said to glamorise republicanism and drug culture while producing anti-union propaganda. Now, they've been accused of promoting messages hostile to Britain, yet Labour have seen fit to hand them £14,000 of your money, reversing Kemi Badenoch's decision as Business Secretary to block the grant. And that's despite Kneecap already receiving a glitzy Amazon Prime film. Why the hell do they need public funding to help them export around the world? This isn't just hypocrisy. I think it's a betrayal of veterans who sacrificed everything. A state that appears to hound its heroes while bankrolling those who allegedly undermine them isn't just broken, it's utterly treacherous and supine. Where's the justice? Where's the loyalty to those who actually protected Britain? Labour's priorities are clear to me. Appease Britain's critics, betray Britain's defenders. Now, I won't be watching this Amazon Prime film, but I mean, Renee, are you happy for £14,000 of your money to be going to them?
Darren.
The Labour Party just set up.
Do you remember I said to you by text earlier on in the week that I woke up and I felt that there was somebody who had control of my bank account and they were spending my money on things I didn't agree with and I had no choice. That's what I feel like is now happening in this world. My money is going on things that I would never, ever sanction, and this is one of them.
I mean, Alex, that glorification of that era, it's very triggering. There are viewers that watch this show from Northern Ireland and it'll be very triggering for them to see people in balaclavas glorifying what happened. Now, to me, the taxpayer should not be involved in said glorification. And if you've got an Amazon, you know how big Amazon is. Yeah. You don't need more taxpayer money if you've got that kind of PR machine behind you.
No, you're absolutely right. There's enough money out there to support these people and support their groups. They should be able to make the money through capitalism, through selling what they do. If they're successful, then the state shouldn't have to intervene. But obviously they're not. And what's shocking about this is the state is propping up people that hate us. They hate our way of life. They hate the union. Why do we give people, and this Labour government seems to be intent on destroying any reputation we have left. Look at the Chagos Islands. This is another prime example. It is intent on destroying Britain's reputation. It seems intent on breaking up the union and giving away now hard-earned taxpayer money.
I'm worried about the next generation actually watching these people.
Of course, it's going to get into their psyche.
Nikki, Grumpy Grandad, and I've just mentioned Grumpy Grandad, so I'm going to get in trouble. But
is that a new listener?
Grandad says, no, yes, he's new to the channel. He says, as an ex-soldier who served in the Troubles, I find it extremely worrying that you could be dragged through the courts for doing your duty. Do you have sympathy with that argument?
I do. I mean, the issue here is, isn't it about controlling dissent? Because that's how I see it, quite cynically. It's a way of keeping an eye on people that are speaking ill about this particular period of history. I mean, look, the Sex Pistols were very rude to the Queen, and we didn't ban them or get rid of them, but we probably didn't give them any taxpayer money. Yes, I understand that. But what I would say is, I mean, it's a bit like me being on this panel, isn't it? You know, controlling dissent and all that.
Yeah,
I mean, you've got to know where they are.
We can't control you, Peg. Will, there are two questions there. One, the lawfare argument. They utilised the ECHR. They said it was a breach of their rights, and the Equality Act, their politics being protected characteristics, as in nationalism being a protected characteristic. They're using this laws that the Tories have made to actually get money from the taxpayer. I find it extraordinary. Well, and we'll have paid their cost, by the way, so it'll be more than 14 grand.
That uncomfortable line, the laws that the Tories have made, and there are now so many, unfortunately, and this is where, you know, Nikki will no doubt say this, there are so many areas where the Tories are going to have such a tough time having credibility from the ECHR to immigration to economics, because it's so easy for Starmer to say, well, you guys did it first. And this is another one where my conservative or libertarian heart breaks, because that goes against every libertarian principle in my body, and that was abrogated by that previous Conservative government. So really, really sad.
They don't have a leg to stand on, the Tories. They don't have a leg, and no one's going to forget this in 4 years.
Though, Alex.
Yeah, she did, fair enough. But there's a litany of other things that they've done that obviously they didn't do a very good job of.
So Penny blocked it. She was willing to go to court over it, and then the Labour Party got in straight away and said, we're going to pass it because we...
Repeal the law. If Kemi really wanted to stop this, she'd repeal the law.
But isn't this just another freedom of speech issue?
No.
Well, yes, but not on the taxpayer buck.
Yeah, this is the thing. We need to completely reorient how we think about the relationship between the state and between people. And we need to stop just giving away money for every minor thing that may come across the desk.
Thank you very much to the panel there. Lots more coming on the show tonight, including our big interview where Dame Andrea Jenkins is going to tell us why she decided to jump ship and become the new star of Nigel Farage's party. Plus the Lib Dems making us cringe and all the rest of it. We've got so much more coming up. See you after this. You're with the Saturday 5. We're live on GB News.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. During the course of Sunday, we'll see some showery outbreaks of rain across the UK. Things turning colder from the north into Monday, albeit for a time because milder Atlantic air will return during the middle part of the coming week. That's the detail for the present time though, and low pressure's anchored towards the northwest of the UK. Quite tightly packed isobars, so it's quite a blustery picture. And a band of rain starting to work in from the west across Ireland and Northern Ireland through the course of the evening, reaching Scotland, England and Wales during the overnight period. Some of the rain could well turn quite heavy at times, staying mostly fine towards the southeast, and some clearer weather tucking into the northwest of the UK by the morning on Sunday. Quite blustery though up towards the north, gales are likely, and wherever you are it's mild and frost-free, temperatures holding up in double figures in some places. As for Sunday itself, we'll get off to a very showery picture across Scotland. A few clear spells at times, but on the whole there will be a fair number of showers moving in from the west. Quite mild at this stage in the day though, temperatures here in double figures. A pretty bright picture across Northern Ireland to start the day on Sunday, just 1 or 2 showers around, and fairly bright too across parts of Wales and the southwest, again with just 1 or 2 showers moving in from the west. Cloudier skies though across central and southeastern parts of England, here some more general outbreaks of rain at times. As for the rest of Sunday, well, on the whole it's a pretty unsettled day. Bands of showery rain moving in from the west, interspersed by some bright or sunny spells at times, and those blustery winds, particularly towards the north, gradually easing down as we go through the day. And another very mild day for the time of year. Temperatures peaking at 14, possibly 15 degrees down towards the south. 15 is 59 in Fahrenheit. But as I say, tempered a little bit by the showery outbreaks of rain and that brisk breeze. As for Monday, we'll notice colder air starting to push in from the north, certainly across Scotland, Northern Ireland and the north of England. Towards the south we hold on to milder temperatures, but here there'll be some outbreaks of rain at times, locally on the heavy side as we go through the day. Colder weather moving south across all parts to give some frost on Tuesday, even some snow for a time across the north of the UK, but turning milder by the middle of the week.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the biggest, greatest Great British giveaway so far, with your chance to win a spectacular £50,000 in tax-free cash. 2025 could be amazing, with plenty of treats, holidays and fun on the horizon. How would you enjoy that cash? £50,000 will make someone our biggest ever winner. For your chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
I'm Nana Acquia. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The way in which children are being driven online because we're not taking them seriously offline. And what we're tending to do is seeing the problems entirely on the social media, forgetting the fact that we've given up on children being able to work independently and play independently outdoors. We've basically created a world where the digital bedroom has become this go-to area for a lot of young kids. We've given up on old-fashioned parenting, where we try to cultivate their resilience. And now we blame everything, all the problems that occur online. You have to remember that if you take something like bullying, bullying, doesn't have to only take place online. It happens all the time, offline, in everyday life. But yet we only see the problem on the social media, and there's this obsession with the social media where every single problem that afflicts childhood is blamed on it. And that distracts us from actually understanding what we're doing wrong with children. So for me, and I hate when I see children with digital technology, when I see them with smartphones. I'm not a fan. I'm much more concerned about the fact that parents, use their digital phones when they're having dinner with their kids and giving very bad examples in relation to that. But the real problem, it seems to me, is offline, and that's why we got to crack the issue. So for me, the banning issue is entirely a headline-grabbing political gambit. And I think that we should be much more focused on the real problems rather than delude ourselves that anything will improve.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5. I'm Darren Grimes, along with Alex Armstrong, Dr. Renee, Will Kingston, and Nikki Hodgson. Plenty more to come tonight, including the new star of Reform UK. No, it's not Alex Armstrong. Andrea Jenkins will tell us why she joined Nigel Farage's moment, I nearly said there. And the stars of Wicked make a masterpiece of a film weird and unnerving. How have they managed that? And is Donald Trump really running Britain? I wish he was.
I wish he was.
Plus, we answer all of your questions in Ask the Five. No topics are off limits. What hells have you unleashed upon us this evening? Visit gbnews.com/yoursay to send in your questions. It's 7 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Still to come tonight, Sir Ed Davies' new musical endeavours. Your ears are going to bleed more than when Nikki speaks. And feeling fests in the civil service. A feeling fest? Oh. We're doing no such thing in this place, I'll tell you that much. Again, you go to gbnews.com/yoursay and we'll get to some of your thoughts too. I've had some lovely messages. First of all, though, it's your Saturday night news with everybody's favourite ghost, Joe Casper.
Thanks, Darren. It's 7:01. I'm Joe Casper in the GB News newsroom. MasterChef producer Banijay has announced City law firm Lewis Silkin will investigate alleged misconduct by TV presenter Gregg Wallace during filming of the cooking show. It comes after further accusations were made against him in the wake of him stepping away from the BBC programme. Penny Lancaster is said to be prepared to speak with authorities regarding her experience, while The Sun reports 3 different women are now also accusing Mr Wallace of groping. And this evening, The Observer is reporting a letter sent to the BBC in 2022 reported multiple allegations of inappropriate behaviour by Mr Wallace but did not prompt further investigation. Banijay UK urged anyone with further concerns to get in touch and said all information will be handled sensitively. Mr Wallace's lawyers insist the claims are entirely false, saying the suggestion that Wallace, who has presented the popular BBC One show alongside John Torode since 2005, engages in behaviour of sexual harassing nature was entirely false. A memorial service has been held today for former First Minister of Scotland, Alex Salmond. His wife of more than 40 years and supporters arranged a remembrance service for him on St Andrew's Day. Mr Salmond died last month in North Macedonia at the age of 69. He was at a conference when he suffered a heart attack and was buried in a private family ceremony near his home in Aberdeenshire at the end of October. A murder investigation has been launched after the death of a woman in her 60s in South London. Officers were called to an address in Surrey Quays at about 3 p.m. on Friday after reports that a woman had been stabbed, the Met Police said. The London Ambulance Service and London's Air Ambulance also attended, and the woman was taken to hospital where she later died. A 61-year-old man was arrested on suspicion of murder and remains in custody. Football action now, and there were wins for Brentford, Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth in the Premier League today. Meanwhile, Crystal Palace scored a last-minute equaliser to draw 1-1 at home to Newcastle. West Ham versus Arsenal is the evening kick-off. Now, to a story that will sweeten your day. A man has been awarded £2 in compensation after he complained about a smooth Mars bar. Harry Seeger from Buckinghamshire picked up the chocolate treat at a service station in Oxfordshire, but contacted manufacturers Mars Wrigley when he discovered it didn't have its signature ripple. In a letter, the firm apologised for his experience and it enclosed a £2 voucher, but offered no explanation. Mr Seeger said, "I think £2 is great. It will be 2 free Mars bars. Maybe they could have sent me more, but I'm not being ungrateful." Superb. Those are your GB News headlines for now. I'm Joe Casper. Now it's back to the 5.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the Saturday 5. Thank you very much for your company. I'm Darren Grimes and I could promise that you're in for another very lively hour. I want to read out some of your messages before we get to our big interview. Donna reminds us that Kneecap donated their court win cash through Labour to the Shankill and Ballymurphy community groups. But that doesn't include the cost of the legal case, of course, that we will have to be on the foot for as well. And she points out that she's reporting me to Ofcom. I wish you well, Donna. And then you've got lots of views. Yvonne says, how dare this government give our taxpayers money to this rap band when they've put pensioners in the cold? Exactly. Outrageous. John says, God Save the Queen wasn't an attack on Her Majesty the Queen as a person. There's not a lyric criticising the late Queen in it. And Kaz says, who would want to join our armed forces? Our heroes are treated with contempt. Yeah. It's disgusting. Agree. And Carol, if you look at the specific force that the sergeant that shot Chris Cabba was involved in, applications to join that force have dropped to record lows. Why is that? Because they are persecuting the wrong people. That's what's happening. And that's what I'm pointing out in the injustice in this country. So report me all you want, you... I won't finish that sentence. Let's crack on with tonight's big interview. The new star of Reform UK, Andrea Jenkins, will join us now to discuss why she's shimmied over to join Nigel Farage's movement. Can they win the next election? And can, actually, Andrea win her mayoral election in May next year? And are rifts beginning to emerge within the Reform movement itself? Well, Andrea joins us now. Andrea, how are you feeling about standing in May?
I'm very excited, Darren. I want to use it as a blueprint for common sense if I get elected, and I will be campaigning on that and really to root out the woke, which actually gets into local government, central government of all colours, doesn't it? So, yeah, I think we need a blueprint for common sense.
Andrea, some of people like Nikki might well be of the view that actually you've stabbed Boris Johnson in the back as well by going over to Reform. Do you think actually there's any merit to that argument?
No, I mean, Boris and I have swapped messages. We're very much friends. I've had...
Does he support this decision?
Oh, of course he doesn't support the decision. No.
Wow.
Well, he wouldn't support me leaving the Conservative Party, would he? Of course, no. But no, we're still friends. And to me, you can have friends cross-party. Yeah. We both want the best for our country, don't we?
Well, Nikki doesn't think so. Honestly, she hates every single person on this panel. Andrea, the question here is, do you think actually the splits that are forming in Reform are going to pose a problem? Because we've got this that we recorded earlier this week of Ben Habib, what he had to say.
HQ at Reform has forbidden the new branches they've set up from having me speak to them. It seems these criticisms that I have, ideological as well as constitutional criticisms I have of the party, are an affront to them. But I think that their prohibition on my speaking, their prohibition on my free speech, their reluctance to democratise, their ideological differences with me now leaves me no option but to say I'm not affiliated with Reform, I'm afraid.
Right, Andrea, so the splits there maybe are starting to form, and Nigel came back, of course, with this comment.
That was the real champagne moment of the day. I mean, it was a good day, but Ben Habib announcing he's not with us really was the absolute icing on the cake. He's attacked me more in public than the Labour Party have. He's gone very bitter, very twisted. It's very sad. The fact that he's walked away, frankly, is a huge relief.
Ouch. I mean, I wouldn't like to get on the side of Warren Ouch that, you know, isn't comfortable, because that certainly wasn't. I mean, do you actually think there is a sign here that people are going to be very upset, Andrea, because a lot of people really felt love and affiliation with Ben Habib?
Look, I mean, I've never met Ben Habib personally. We've exchanged a couple of messages, one this week one a couple of months ago. So I don't really know him and I don't know the backstory. But look, parties do have arguments. Look, I called for 2 prime ministers to resign in the Conservative Party, you know, Theresa May and Rishi. So, I mean, Nigel's probably saying that because he feels he's got Ben off his back, which I'm sure, no doubt, Theresa May and Rishi and probably some of the Conservatives, probably some of the lefty ones are relieved I'm not in the party. So, but I mean, all I can say is, I mean, it does seem very democratised to me because the process I went through to be selected as a mayor, I went through a formal process. I had other candidates. It was a 2-interview process, etc. 2 elements to it. So you got a grill in, and so did other candidates as well. So they don't seem to be doing shoe-ins. So I do think that Zia is very serious about that. So is Nigel. And that's one of the reasons I went across, actually, Darren. I think the final thing for me is seeing what they did for that policewoman in Manchester. I thought that was amazing, really standing up for the underdog when it was appalling what happened there and the men wasn't arrested. That was one thing. But when I've sort of met with Zia and Nigel and seen their plans for the party, it's very exciting, actually. And it's really great to be part of that.
Nikki, I mean, hearing all of this, you'll be signing up to Reform UK tonight, I've no doubt.
Oh, I will. Well, I mean, Andrea, a fellow Yorkshirewoman. I mean, I don't agree with Andrea on a thing, but I think she's a wonderful person. I've got a lot of respect for her, and I wish her well in this endeavour.
But on Reform UK, do you think she's wrong, ultimately, Nikki, on Reform UK?
I am still very cynical about their impact on the country. Yes, it looked nice in the election, and there's enough seats now, 5 seats, isn't there, in the House?
Yeah.
But still, I don't think people are going to buy into it long term.
I mean, Renee, do you think that ultimately the Conservative Party, Andrea's left because there are too many wets, more wet, it's wetter than an otter's pocket, you know? And Andrea said, sod this, I'm off. If I can say that at this hour, I do apologise if anyone's
I saw you at the Reform conference, Darren, actually.
I might have been there. I might have been there. He was there as well.
I mean, look, I think
you was there with the press pass, of course.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting. Andrea, what I think the battle that Reform are going to have, obviously, is keeping themselves together and not devouring their own children, as we've seen this week with Ben Habib. But also, there's this constant argument that if Reform persists and continues to do well, it will just split the right and no one will get into power apart from Labour.
I mean, look, this is why before the election I was trying to bring both sides together. I think we need to watch this space, see what polling is, but I haven't got faith in Kemi, and I'd much rather see, you know, Nigel overtake her, to be honest with you, and, you know, as former government. But I think that if it looks nearer to the election that it's, you know, difficult and it's going to split the vote, I think conversations need to be had. I know Nigel said no, but I just think we're a long way off from an election, and who knows at the moment.
Yeah.
Andrew,
I mean, 100,000 members is pretty good as well.
Spectacular.
I don't know how much is in the Conservatives at the moment, because I mean, I was out campaigning today.
People.
I mean, I was out campaigning today in Yorkshire, actually, because a friend of mine who we met on the Brexit campaign, he contacted me. He's gone over from the Conservatives. He used to be one of my deputy chairmen, gone to Reform, standing in a by-election. And when I went there, I found one of my other fellow friends in the Conservatives are both defected. So.
Well, Alex, there were obvious clues. You don't have to be Mystic Meg to have figured that Andrea might well do this, because on her election leaflet during that ill-fated election for the Conservative Party, she had Mr Farage emblazoned upon her leaflet. Look at that, Andrea sparkling like a Christmas tinsel.
It's a really good point, because Andrea...
That was at his 60th. I mean, I also had Boris on there, and I had David Cameron as well, actually.
You did. Well, Andrea, I really wanted to ask you, because, you know, you've mentioned Kemi Badenoch there a couple of times, and I think it'd be interesting for the audience to know this. What was it about Kemi, about her leadership, that you weren't willing to follow? And, if I might add a second question, how many of your colleagues do you think might follow you in suit?
Well, I don't think I should give that away, but
come on, give it to us. Tell us.
Seriously, there has been conversations. I've had lots of lovely messages, you know, other people thinking the same thing, so that's quite good. Look, with Kemi, I mean, I wanted Pretty first. You know, she's a Thatcherite Conservative. generic. I felt that he was...
Well,
you know,
Andrea,
really,
though, Priti Patel opened our borders wider than goodness only knows what. Nicky Hodgson's gob.
Yeah, but I think the issue was it was the blob as well. I mean, look how she got told she was a bully when she tried to be strong with them. Look how they said they're going on strike, the Civil Service Union, because of the Rwanda bill. So she had a lot of battles in that department. I mean, I would have sacked a lot of them personally. I think we should have done. But no, back to Kemi, back to your question. I just don't like her attitude, I'm afraid. I mean, I've seen the way she talks down to people. She speaks down to me. I've seen her in select committees where she speaks down to, you know, the great Sybil Cash, who, you know, Brexit has been his whole career fighting for Brexit. And you should have more respect for people. And it's that arrogance I don't like. And the fact, if you look at a voting record, it's not this centre-right, Thatcherite person she makes out she is. You know, she's just a party loyalist who will not rock the boat. Yeah, she might be good on the... no, come on, she might... She's good on the stuff, you know, about gender and equality. She's good at that. You know, I give her her dues. However, if you also look, she was responsible for ripping up the final red tape, EU red tape on the statute, and she didn't do it. And that's now had a knock-on effect that Starmer can have this closer alignment.
Will, on the topic...
it's had consequences.
On the topic you were discussing earlier, Will, on Islam, she did say, and she got into hot water with the BBC for saying that there aren't all cultures that are equally as valid as the other.
Yeah, and Andrea, it's interesting in that recent interview that Farage gave, some of his supporters were actually quite disappointed with his discussion around multiculturalism, discussion around immigration. He said he wasn't in favour of deportations. He said that the demographics side of the immigration issue was not something that concerned him. Ben Habib disagreed with that. Should Reform voters be worried that Nigel is going soft?
No, I don't think so. And don't forget, it's very difficult balance for a party what's trying to be mainstream, isn't it? To get the balance right, that they don't think you're just a bunch of nutters. I mean, God, I think you and I think Darren, they all think we are anyway, don't we? And a few of us on this panel. But, you know, that's a compliment, really. But no, I've had so many conversations with Nigel about illegal migration, and you know, I'm very confident in, you know, what we're going to do as a Reform Party. And yeah, watch this space, because, you know, we are serious about, you know, getting our act together, and we want to surpass 100,000 members, selecting early, watch this space for council elections next year. So, you know, this is serious stuff now.
Will, I mean, do you buy that? Are you, because it's an issue you care deeply about, are you confident that Reform are saying the right things here?
I'm going to be brutally honest with our audience, Darren. I couldn't quite hear the answer, but it looked like it was delivered in a very compelling way, Andrea, and so I will give you the benefit of the doubt.
Well, there was an answer there that, you know, effectively, Andrew's confident that on illegal migration and all these other things that Nigel is sufficiently robust.
I can't give stuff away, can I, when there's going to be announcements, you know, coming up in the future. So I can't give stuff away. But
you see what Will's saying, though.
Yes, I understand what he's saying, what it looks like. But my conversations with Nigel, Richard, Zia, you know, they are very serious about tackling this, and
they're serious about tackling it. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, and wait for the policies to roll out, because they are going to.
Well, there's a lot of criticism around Zia's appointment as chairman as well. There's some comments made, at least on social media, saying that he's bought his way into the top. How do you feel Zia will contribute as quite an outspoken member of the party now? Do you think his contribution will help move the needle forward for Reform?
I mean, I was really impressed with Zia, and I know some other Conservatives who've met him as well, actually, who felt the same. He's so professional in his approach behind the scenes. You know, even looking at the planning on the walls, the documents, it's amazing. It's quite inspiring, actually. So, you know, I wouldn't join a movement and a party if I feel that it wasn't going in the right direction, especially when I've been with a party member for like nearly 20 years with the Conservatives. It was a difficult decision, but I just know it's the right decision. You know, when you can feel it, you just feel it in your bones. It's the right decision. It's the right time. And I think Reform will carry on, you know, on a I can't even say the word trajectory.
Yeah, trajectory.
Yes.
One of our viewers, just very briefly, Andrea, says, were you paid to defect? He's asking if you had a Christmas bonus. You believe in this, don't you?
Not. Yeah, no, of course I wasn't. You know, we've been talking since. I mean, look, was talking before the election, wasn't we? But I believe in going down with the party I got elected to, fighting with, and which turned out a sinking ship. I lost my seat, and not long after the election, conversations have been going on. Met with them in August, etc. So there's been lots of serious discussions, and because it was a big decision.
All right, Andrea, thank you very much for that. That's Andrea Jenkins there from Reform UK now. And still to come tonight, we've got Lib Dem Cringe, Where Does It End? Wicked Weirdness, and your questions to us. Visit gbnews.com/your say. One person has said, why in the context of Louise Hay have we not mentioned James St Murdoch? I think you'll find I actually did.
We did.
James St Murdoch. They said it's a Reform channel. I don't think so. Anyway, next in the Saturday Scrap, Renee and Nikki will lock horns over the sickfluencer trends permeating through the nation. Renee says, get off your backside. Is it time to end our something for nothing culture? You're with the Saturday 5. We're live on GB News.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
My next guest's book will certainly provoke you. Lord Sarch's book, Orgasm, probes 21 such ideas, chapter by chapter, in a stimulating reading experience, covering subjects from geopolitics and etiquette to the economy and the afterlife. Maurice Sarchi argues that rigorous thinking can create a blissful mental experience.
Well, the title is Orgasm, and I try to investigate the question of whether it's possible for there to be an orgasm of the mind which is equal in bliss to a physical orgasm. That's very interesting. And theoretically, the way that arises, I'll finish. Theoretically, the way that arises is by addressing conflicting ideas and then for there to be a revelation of true wisdom. That's the purpose of the book. And I think you can sum up British politics completely in 2 sentences. You'll understand very well, Michael. Conservatives are efficient but cruel. Labour is caring but incompetent. So you can see there that if you have a situation in which the Conservative Party turns out to be, in people's opinion, inefficient and cruel, well, then you're likely to have a very bad election result, which is exactly what we just did. And why?
So you have quite a lot to say to Kemi Badenoch. I mean, the first thing you would say to her would be, read my book, please, I suppose.
Well, that's absolutely the first thing. It's a perfect Christmas present for her to give, as I was saying. So that's number one. So after she's done that, well, then her level of wisdom, which I'm sure is already very high, will be greatly increased, and she'll be able to address the complex, provocative, controversial issues aired in this book.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Go to gbnews.com/shop now and take advantage of our biggest ever Black Friday sale with 25% off all items across our store and free shipping on orders worth £60 or more. There's never been a better time to grab something for the GB News fan in your life. From our signature clothing to drinkware, gifts, accessories and much, much more, you'll find the perfect present this festive season. Use the code BLACKFRIDAY25 on checkout at gbnews.com/shop for our best ever Black Friday deals.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. As always, thank you very much for your messages about tonight's topics. Don't forget to get in your Ask the 5. I'll get to some of your comments shortly. Now, though, it's time for this. Yes, indeedy, ding, ding, ding. It's time for tonight's main event. Social media influencers, dubbed sickfluencers, are helping thousands to secure long-term sickness and disability benefits. According to a Channel 4 Dispatches investigation, YouTuber Charlie Anderson's guide to winning disability claims has racked up over 378,000 views, while TikTok creator Witchmother advises followers to focus on their worst days, with approvals now exceeding 3,000 people a day. 3,000 a day. Claims are projected to surpass 4 million by the end of Parliament. Ministers warn this surge could cost £100 billion by 2030. So it's clearly time, is it not, to crack down on a something-for-nothing culture? Well, Nikki and Dr. Renee are going to get boxed up right now and then box each other. Seconds out, it's round one. Ding, ding, take it away, Dr. Renee.
OK, so whenever I actually tackle this subject, I get the immediate response from people that, oh, you try living on £40 a week, which is what unemployment benefit is. And that may well be the case. However, this is a prime example of the fact that many, many people don't just live on that amount, because the moment you transfer your unemployment benefit into a sickness benefit, you get vastly greater sums of money. And people, especially young people, are twigging this. We now have 14% of our young people under the age of 25, 18 to 25, out of work and not looking for work. Now, it's very easy for them to get switched to this list, as we're going to see with these sickfluencers, whatever they're called, because the moment they say that they have mental health problems, and let's face it, every young person now apparently is suffering from a mental health problem, which I generally see in my day-to-day work as struggles of life that we've all been through and come through the other side. And believe you me, I've been through plenty. And the moment they do that, they actually start getting more money. We know this now because we've seen on TikTok, as Darren has just read out to you, that there are sites showing people how to game the system, how to go to the top of the list. Apparently, if you say you're suicidal, you get maximum points and you go to the top. So they are telling people what to do to get more of our money, my money, because that's what it is. Now, there should be a welfare state, of course there should, because we should always have a safety net for the very few people in life who really can't work, who have schizophrenia, who cannot work, who can't speak, who have terrible disabilities. I have no problem with my money going to that at all. I do have a problem going to people who are just feckless and are bleeding society dry.
Ooh, well, I mean, I've got to take issue with you, Renee, because as somebody that has a chronic mental health problem and has had to take years out of work sometimes, which I funded myself, by the way, not taking benefits, I do have sympathy for younger people that are struggling. We've got a mental health epidemic in this country. We don't look after people properly. We've got loads of social cohesion problems. We've got loads of people that are by themselves, that are not, they don't have a lust for life. They're not ambitious about their own futures. And we've got to be real about the fact that so many people are despairing. I think a lot... I don't have a problem with sickfluencers because there's always been people telling you how to game the system. We just haven't seen them on social media. That's the only difference. They're just able to proliferate more freely. But, I mean, I think we've got to take seriously the fact that we've got 1 in 10 working-age adults in this country claiming some kind of health benefit.
Nikki, we are going to reach the point by 2030 where the disability and unemployment welfare budget is bigger than the NHS budget. It is insane. It's bigger than the education budget already. We put more money into this than educating our children, the most important people in the world. We know lots of people wake up in the morning and just can't face the day. I feel like that sometimes. Do you know what I do? I face the day because I have to. I have to pay my mortgage.
Well, I do exactly the same, and I have to take medication in order to face the day most days. So, you know, I mean, I totally understand what you're saying, but we've got to, the problem that we've got is that we don't deal with mental health problems from a preventative perspective, and that's why we've got ourselves into this situation. We don't help people at the beginning of a crisis.
Right, brief comments. Thank you very much to you two for taking that away. We'll let the viewers decide who won that one. Wayne, brief comment, please.
The problem with disability is that it just keeps getting extended and extended and extended. In the Australian National Disability Insurance Scheme, they allowed sex workers for people with intimacy issues to be claimed as a benefit. That's the sort of thing that we're dealing with, and that's the sort of thing we need to cut back on.
Wayne says, what we have is a shower of snowflakes. Yes.
That is what we have, Wayne.
Too right, Wayne.
And Alex, Sylvia from South Shields, good part of the world, Sylvia, she says the TikTok person should be sent to prison.
Well, I mean, look, they're only saying what's publicly available, so I don't think they should be sent to prison, but these sorts of accounts don't help our country. They're obviously traitors to what is it we're trying to achieve. They're encouraging people... They're bankrupting the country. I see that's traitorism. And I do agree with Dr Renee. There's certain people who desperately do need these benefits, and we should never frown upon those people, but it is being weaponised by the left.
Nikki, if you look at, since the Tories brought in personal independence payments for mental health issues, it's just skyrocketed. It's gone.
It has, and it's in particular age groups. I mean, health benefits in general have gone up in the bracket of the 60s, but actually it's young people where it's expanding exponentially, or it seems to be rising the quickest. But then we've got to ask ourselves deeper questions about what is it that is wrong with these young people's lives that they're blaming it on mental health.
I mean, Renee...
Because we're not giving these kids any resilience. They've got trigger warnings on everything, so they don't learn how to cope with difficult things. They're not allowed to debate anything that they find offensive. They don't have to attend a lecture if they find it offensive. How can they possibly cope with life when we treat them like this?
I can't thinking that 14 years of Tory rule, the pandemic, Brexit, all those kind of social issues that resulted as you know, direct impact of that. This is our legacy. Is this not Tory legacy? Poor mental health amongst the young.
Dr Renee is right. I mean, in America, that same movie that Darren's just watched, Wicked, comes with a ridiculous portfolio of warnings. One of it says is fantasized animals will be persecuted in this movie, and it warns you. And so we are pushing young people into this mental health crisis. It's not their own fault.
All right, thank you, Alex. And Jay says, I will never forget Craig McKinley walking into Parliament after losing his hands and his feet.
Yes.
Most officers are nowhere near that. And,
incredible man.
Yeah, it's about perspective, isn't it? Right, my friends, still ahead, we're going to answer your questions. Visit gbnews.com/your say, nothing off limits. First of all, Bunch of Five. What have we got in store for you? You're with the Saturday Five. We're live on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. During the course of Sunday, we'll see some showery outbreaks of rain across the UK. Things turning colder from the north into Monday, albeit for a time because milder Atlantic air will return during the middle part of the coming week. That's the detail for the present time, though, and low pressure's anchored towards the northwest of the UK. Quite tightly packed isobars, so it's quite a blustery picture. And a band of rain starting to work in from the west across Ireland and Northern Ireland through the course of the evening, reaching Scotland, England and Wales during the overnight period. Some of the rain could well turn quite heavy at times, staying mostly fine towards the southeast, and some clearer weather tucking into the northwest of the UK by the morning on Sunday. Quite blustery though up towards the north, gales are likely, and wherever you are it's mild and frost-free, temperatures holding up in double figures in some places. As for Sunday itself, we'll get off to a very showery picture across Scotland. A few clear spells at times, but on the whole, there will be a fair number of showers moving in from the west. Quite mild at this stage in the day though, temperatures here in double figures. A pretty bright picture across Northern Ireland to start the day on Sunday, just 1 or 2 showers around, and fairly bright too across parts of Wales and the southwest, again with just 1 or 2 showers moving in from the west. Cloudier skies though across central and southeastern parts of England, here some more general outbreaks of rain at times. As for the rest of Sunday, well, on the whole it's a pretty unsettled day. Bands of showery rain moving in from the west, interspersed by some bright or sunny spells at times, and those blustery winds, particularly towards the north, gradually easing down as we go through the day. And another very mild day for the time of year. Temperatures peaking at 14, possibly 15 degrees down towards the south. 15 is 59 in Fahrenheit. But as I say, tempered a little bit by the showery outbreaks of rain and that brisk breeze. As for Monday, we'll notice colder air starting to push in from the north, certainly across Scotland, Northern Ireland and the north of England. Towards the south, we hold on to milder temperatures, but here there'll be some outbreaks of rain at times, locally on the heavy side as we go through the day. Colder weather moving south across all parts to give some frost on Tuesday, even some snow for a time across the north of the UK, but turning milder by the middle of the week.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry, tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe.
Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5. As always, thank you very much for your emails about tonight's topics. Lots coming in for Ask the Five. Keep that up. And Tim says the breakdown of the family unit is responsible for mental health problems in part. No place for grandparents' inputs in today's fractured society. And Pearl points out that the real blaggers are illegal migrants, lavishing in top-class hotels while our homeless soldiers are left without any roof over their heads. Grumpy Grandad, never heard of him, says kids aren't allowed to be kids. They don't get out to explore the real world until they're teenagers. So, when they do get out into the real world, they've no idea how to deal with it. Maybe that's why so many have mental health issues. And Keith says it used to be backache, now it's mental health. Scroungers be scroungers. Now, it's time for this. Indeed, this is the part of the show where we give you short, snappy sound bites about some stories that have interested us. Willie, in the corner, all the way from Oz, what have you got for us? You're up and forthright.
Well, I can't do this show anymore.
Darren, as you mentioned earlier, audiences have fallen in love with Wicked. I personally haven't seen the film, but I've fallen in love with the cast of Wicked, seeing the promotional interviews that have come out recently. It is so refreshing to see knockabout, genuine, down-to-earth celebrities that you can really imagine having a beer with. I think we may actually have some clips of them. Can we get that up?
If not, can you act on?
The most important work that we can do is learn how we can listen and be there for each other and the people that we love, and especially the most beautiful community in the entire world. And I love my queer brothers and sisters.
I'm a person, and I feel, and I have feelings, and I can share them. Being green, yes, I loved playing this character, but every time I took the makeup off, I loved who I was even more.
Everyone is just so beautifully queer, and that roots all the way back to the L. Frank Baum books. I don't know, it's just a celebration, and how do you honor that history?
Oh my God.
I can't. Thoughts, team?
Well, God.
It's insufferable.
Why do they find it necessary to have that really silly voice?
Well, do you know, a press junket is meant to actually make you want to see the film, to sell the film. They are doing the very worst PR job. It's a butchering of the actual
But it's
film.
not about selling the film. It's just all self-indulgence.
It
It's
is.
all about me, me, me.
No,
But
but the
that's just always
concept
been,
is meant to.
No, there's always been thespians. They've always been self-indulgent. They were just doing it in a different way 50 years ago.
No, I haven't actually heard them speak about the movie other than the context of themselves. Like, the actress, I can't remember her name, who plays the witch, keeps on mentioning how being green is about being black, and she keeps making it some race thing. I'm like, can you not just talk about the film? It's insufferable.
You know,
Make
I'm
it stop.
identifying as green.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to have offended you, Renee.
And I hate that nose piercing. Looks like a bull.
I have had a nose piercing.
No, not the
Oh, not in the middle. Oh, no, no.
I was going to say, can we please get a photo?
No.
Gosh. Right, OK, Renee, what have you got?
OK, so you'll all remember, leading up to the election, the number of times that I felt it my duty to highlight how ridiculous Ed Davey was when he was falling off a paddleboard, when he was sliding down a water park slide, when he was parachuting in from places. It was just ridiculous. Nothing to do with politics, just Ed Davey being ridiculous. Well, it obviously worked. He won 72 seats, so you can't knock it. But now he's got the job. He's still being ridiculous. And I'm going to show you what he was doing this week. So this is Ed, who apparently wants to be #1 for Christmas. I would say, Ed, give it up. Please make it stop. Go and do your job.
And he wants to play a game of FIFA with Sir Keir Starmer. He keeps saying in these TikTok videos, saying days since he asked Sir Keir Starmer to play a charity game of FIFA with him. It's just this sheer desperation for attention. He's basically like Nicky Hodgson.
I'm not on TikTok.
The reality is, though, there are a lot of rest is politics loving, centrist dad, Ed Davies types in the UK. You've got to admit, it is probably a successful election.
Should we just bracket them as losers? I don't know. There's
maybe shorthand.
70 seats. He won 70.
Well, he won 70 seats because the Tories just completely disappeared. But, you know, this sort of stuff, I mean, all I get reminded of is that I'm paying for his salary.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what winds me up. That's what and he is the third largest party in Parliament. Do something. Talk about your policies. Who knows what the Liberal Democrats stand for anymore? Because I don't.
Not liberalism and not democracy.
Yeah, exactly. Clowns.
Right, OK, what have I got for you then? I have got this, which is a transatlantic appeal. New polls show that Donald Trump is actually more popular with British voters than Sir Keir Starmer. Yes, that's right. Now, they might both be in minus territory, I'm not going to lie to you, but Donald Trump less favourable than Sir Keir Starmer. You hate Sir Keir Starmer more. Isn't it extraordinary? After that election high, 9 million votes, all at 400-odd seats, and actually you find him more unfavourable than the so-called orange fascist Donald J. Trump.
Misogynist, you forgot misogynist.
Misogynist as well.
You forgot
all
rapist.
These things. It's what a fall from grace. Nicky, you said, I can't believe this, Darren. I loathe this. I'm going to cry.
I mean, I'm not going to cry because I'm actually a big girl, but I do have a problem with it because, I mean, I'm just trying to been trying to avoid him, and I'm going to try and do that for the next 4 years, although it'll be a little bit difficult
that's
being
very
a journalist.
We've got Donald on the panel, don't we?
We have. He's right here, Nicky. I didn't know if you realised it, actually, OK? But I love Nicky Hudson. She hates me, but I love her.
But just to say
that's my contribution.
The old rapist comment. Let's just remember that a civil court did find that he needed to pay millions of dollars in damages to E. Jean Carroll, my ex-boss. I have to say,
that
to be clear,
a sham of a trial.
Was it?
It was an absolute sham.
Yeah.
No.
Christina says a plague of locusts is more popular than Keir Starmer. I imagine at this point Fred and Rose West are more popular than Sir Keir Starmer.
Wow.
It's bad. It's been bad straits. Alex, what have you got?
Well, what have I got? I have the civil service having lengthy emotional check-ins for potentially hours a week because of psychological safety. This is a report from The Telegraph that said Cabinet Office civil servants are having emotional moments to check in with themselves before they get started, at your expense, might I add. So maybe we should just waste some time. Will, how are you feeling today?
My lived experience, I don't feel is acknowledged in the way that it should be acknowledged. But otherwise, I'm okay.
I wish you, but that would probably be wrong.
No.
Have you been misgendered at all today, Dr. Renee? Are you all right?
Constantly, and people never refer to my lovely green skin.
No, we must bear that in mind. And your pronouns are?
Oh, my pronouns are His Royal Highness.
Nicky.
Well, I've already banged on about my mental health problems, so you don't need to ask me again,
Let's not ask.
Alex, how are you? I'm so sorry.
I'm so glad you asked. I'm so glad. Where's Ariana? I'm doing great. In fact, I never want to have a mental health check-in because I do it for myself, right? That's the point. We're all human beings. Everyone has bad days, but you are paying for it at home for the civil service to have the pleasure of a psychological check-in once a day.
I wouldn't mind seeing a few more cracking of the whips in the civil service, to be honest.
I quite like Jacob Rees-Mogg's approach. He'd leave a little note terrifying them. Please come back to
I
work.
missed you today.
I'm so sorry I missed you. Come back into the office, please.
The man that sleeps on the job, come on.
No, he was
wasn't
listening.
Asleep. He was listening in the speaker.
Yeah.
With his eyes closed.
Well,
you get sacked in any other occupation.
You might have been talking in the house. Nicky,
tuning out.
What have you got, Nicky?
Well, I think it's all about Band-Aid and time to rip the plaster off because, I don't know if you know, it's 40 years this year, the single, and Sir Bob Geldof, he, with that massive lust for hagiography, his own hagiography, I've got to say, has been saying that, oh no, we're still doing loads of, not going to do the accent, we're still raising loads of money for charity, we're still really, helping Africa. Ed Sheeran's popped up and said, I really object to being spliced into this new version with George Michael. I mean, chance to be a fine thing that you'd ever be compared to him in the same breath. But what I'm trying to actually say to you is it's time to let that song die. It's been released, re-released, and it hasn't even made the top 40, so nobody wants to listen to it anymore. Just let it go, Bob.
I love that woke has now transformed into anti-woke. You guys are worse than us on the right. You just can't make your minds up about what's woke, what isn't. It's gone from let's save the children. No, screw those kids.
Let them die.
Let them die because what you're doing is woke.
Yeah.
This is brilliant. I love it.
Save the kids is actually a legitimate cause.
No, Will. No, we must let them suffer because this song is worse.
Ploughing this money at them probably goes into corrupt regimes and all these other things. I don't think it actually has.
Well, it's about the issue is about these stereotypes of Africa that don't stand up in the song.
So the children are going to die because of stereotypes?
Well, the children are going to die because some people think it doesn't snow in Africa.
But do they know it's Christmas time at all?
Do they care?
Yeah.
Does it matter?
I mean, I don't think it does anymore, but I just don't... I'm sort of like, eh.
Yeah, but I just feel that Sir Bob is kind of, he's still waiting to be, made a saint.
Yes,
so this is what he has to keep doing.
He needs to have a bath before they'll make him...
He's a horrible, sanctimonious, arrogant...
Yes.
Beast.
Fully agree.
And he doesn't bath.
And he stuck his...
He doesn't bath. He doesn't bath.
I'll never ever forget, in 2016, he stuck his fingers up at fishermen who were protesting in favour of Brexit.
He did.
It was horrible. Anyway, still ahead, we're going to answer your questions in Ask the Five. No topics are off limits. What hells have you unleashed upon us this week? You're with the Saturday Five. We're live on GB News.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
The latest Channel 4 Dispatches documentary has revealed details about the royal family's finances, including reports that private royal estates have received millions of pounds of income from public bodies and charities.
Morning, and morning, Stephen. Absolutely, I'm not shocked either. And also, as a former butler, I was also a duchy rentee. I used to rent one of the properties, and we were always aware of the property portfolio. I don't think it's kind of a bit news thing. Obviously, part of the, if you like, the business side is these two duchies, Cornwall and Lancaster, and the late Queen obviously was the Duke as well of Lancaster, and now you've got the Prince was obviously, or the King, when he was Prince, had the duchy. And these properties, portfolios as well, I mean, obviously they make money. I mean, but they've been around for, I think they go back to George III, if not before.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Nightmare commute? Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+ and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player app. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. As always, thank you very much for your emails and messages about tonight's topics. Miss Sezzy says Band-Aid was of its time, and the younger generation just don't get it. For once, just zip it and stop twisting a word, she says, to your woke narrative.
Right. I'll be quiet from now on then.
Told you.
You just want to create problems.
Absolutely, I'm just a troublemaker.
And Gerald says mental health issues were very rare until in the 1970s, unless they were genuine issues, schizophrenia being one, of course. Responsibility for self is what's missing today.
Yeah.
My problems have become your problems. Blame shifting and no advice as to sort yourself out. As you grow up, who's there to catch you when you fall? Learn how to fall.
We need to be able to prescribe a teaspoon of moral fibre.
Love that.
Yeah, all right. And now, my friends, it's time for this. Okie dokie, let's see what you've got for us this week. One viewer has written in and asked this. What was your favourite childhood book, Will?
I'm tempted to say something intellectual, but I'll be honest, Shane Warne's autobiography. An absolute masterpiece of the genre.
The X Factor star or the cricketer?
Brilliant. Mine was The Hobbit. I think every child should have to read The Hobbit.
Yeah, well, I would agree with that. I'd say it was actually a series of unfortunate events. I really liked them.
Oh.
Yeah,
a lot of them.
I was raised as the generation that didn't read, but I did read. Just to clarify, the Harry Potter series came out and changed everything. So I actually grew up reading Harry Potter, and then The Hobbit, great book.
The Hobbit is a great
brilliant book, and then Lord of the Rings.
But I didn't read that until a bit later on. I don't think it's a kid book.
I know, I read it.
I read it when I was like
7 or 8.
15. Yeah, 15 I read it.
Yeah. Loved
Nikki?
it.
The Bible.
The Bible?
No, I'm joking, I'm joking. My favourite book was Ballet Shoes by Noel Streatfeild, about 3 immigrant sisters called the Fossils who made their way in the world.
Oh,
he wasn't indoctrinated.
You were a woke child.
I thought you were going to say
Born woke.
Born woke, die woke.
Dear Lord, I've heard it all. Right, next question. Are we witnessing the total collapse of the United Kingdom as a serious state? Will? You've just moved here, so...
Yeah, sometimes I feel like I've boarded the Titanic after it hit the iceberg. It will all depend on whether or not we get mass migration under control in this term of government.
No, I think it's too late. I think it's done. I think we are witnessing it and it's on its way down.
I think we're at serious risk of civil war in this country eventually. I really, really do. And I think unless we turn back the tide now, and we need to get serious on... If you've been here for 5 years as an illegal, you get the right to remain here indefinitely. I think that needs to change, even retroactively, saying to people, if you came here illegally, you ain't getting citizenship. Go away.
I agree with both of you, by the way. My problem is that if you look at what's going on in Chagos, is we're running around after whoever's the president is at the current time, listening to their will. And I think that shows we aren't a serious state anymore because we're taking foreign policy decisions from another country. There you go. That's your answer. We're not.
We haven't been a serious state since the collapse of the East India Company, if you ask me. And that's all to do with the fact that we're not actually that serious and we don't need to be.
Where's Nikki gone?
The East India Company.
It's a joke about imperialism.
Yes. Oh, all right. Georgia has written in. Thank you, Georgia. She says, name 1 or 2 of your favourite films of all time. Will, that's yours. Free Willy.
No, I won't indulge you, Darren. The Big Lebowski.
Oh, it's very good, very good. Kill Bill, all of them. Awesome.
You know, as a kid, and this is going to, you've truly outgauged yourself, but as a kid, it was Mean Girls, to be honest. It was just such a good film and a cult classic. Alex, what's...
Sorry, I'm a little bit crying here. Mine was this. I mean, I'm a Star Wars geek. I loved Star Wars, but in more modern history, I do love Wolf of Wall Street. Leonardo DiCaprio is fantastic in that.
And mine was Cabaret, Lessons Against the Nazis and Liza Minnelli.
She definitely had too much propaganda growing up. Get her on Star Wars.
Been the Iron Lady.
I have seen that, but no, not a fave.
No, I do think actually Meryl was quite brilliant in that, to be honest. I mean, what's the wokest film you've ever seen? Don't say Wicked.
Do you know, I did take Alice to see Buzz Lightyear a couple of years ago, so she was only 3. The ads before it were trans rights to human rights, and I was outraged at having a 5-year-old there. And then in Buzz Lightyear, of course, they had to have a black lesbian.
Yeah, of course they did. It's an animation.
Yeah.
Well, I think the one is still to come, this Disney Snow White film that they've had to push back because that lead actress is so insufferable that I think maybe will be a lead contender.
I mean, that's going to be interesting to watch. And my friends, just wait for a new film about the recreation of the moon landing with a disabled trans Muslim with a Palestine flag. Wait for that. Right, thank you very much to our guests tonight and my brilliant panel. I appreciate it so very much. Next up, it's the brilliant Leo Kearse with the Saturday Night Showdown. Cheers very much for watching. See you at the same time again next week.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. During the course of Sunday, we'll see some showery outbreaks of rain across the UK. Things turning colder from the north into Monday, albeit for a time because milder Atlantic air will return during the middle part of the coming week. Back to detail for the present time though, and low pressure's anchored towards the northwest of the UK, quite tightly packed isobars, so it's quite a blustery picture, and a band of rain starting to work in from the west across Ireland and Northern Ireland through the course of the evening, reaching Scotland, England and Wales during the overnight period. Some of the rain could well turn quite heavy at times, staying mostly fine towards the southeast, and some clearer weather tucking into the northwest of the UK by the morning on Sunday. Quite blustery though up towards the north, gales are likely, and wherever you are it's mild and frost-free, temperatures holding up in double figures in some places. As for Sunday itself, we'll get off to a very showery picture across Scotland, a few clear spells at times, but on the whole there will be a fair number of showers moving in from the west. Quite mild at this stage in the day though, temperatures here in double figures. A pretty bright picture across Northern Ireland to start the day on Sunday, just 1 or 2 showers around, and fairly bright too across parts of Wales and the southwest, again with just 1 or 2 showers moving in from the west. Cloudier skies though across central and southeastern parts of England, here some more general outbreaks of rain at times. As for the rest of Sunday, well, on the whole it's a pretty unsettled day. Bands of showery rain moving in from the west, interspersed by some bright or sunny spells at times, and those blustery winds, particularly towards the north, gradually easing down as we go through the day. And another very mild day for the time of year. Temperatures peaking at 14, possibly 15 degrees down towards the south. 15 is 59 in Fahrenheit. But as I say, tempered a little bit by the showery outbreaks of rain and that brisk breeze. As for Monday, we'll notice colder air starting to push in from the north, certainly across Scotland.